person.
Are we
I think
going?
we are now safe with a 4-person in person and 1 online. Is that
That sounds right. We had
Yes.
7 total, so 4 is a quorum.
right? Used to be, it was many more,
That was
Before we
the
lost a few.
beginning. All right.
right? We lost Eric.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
lost, Dan. And who else did we lose?
That's all.
Oh, no, we
That's
lost, what was the lady's name? I forget her name.
Dolores.
Dolores.
But
Dolores,
Sealy took
But,
her
but
spot.
Sealy took her
Okay.
place.
So we should be
Really
8 total,
17.
right?
Yeah,
And so
we're still good with
I think
4.
we're good.
The chair will declare a quorum.
There you
So this is the 10th of October, 2022. This is the Enfield Master Plan Task Force. We are meeting in the DPW conference room and on the Teams video platform. It is 6:04, calling the meeting to order. Members present in person from my left. CD,
Sealy off the arrow.
I'm David Frack,
Brad Rich.
Bridget Labrie.
staff members,
Bob Taylor?
Whitney Baker.
and on video, we have
Maynard Southern.
Amy Southern and Brandy Saxon, who is our consultant. Agenda review. Today we want to cover reviewing the implementation matrix, reviewing our revisions or hopefully final revisions for the completed chapters, talk about next steps, and hopefully set a date for the final public meeting. Talk a little about the logistics of that. So first we have minutes from September 26th, which was our last meeting. Hi, Lindsay. Lindsay Smith has joined us. Oh, shut up.
Your phone does that all the time.
Only at meetings.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
She
I
listens
don't
very
know
closely.
why. I wonder what she found on the internet.
Right. I have, one suggestion. I
Said
found.
something about Lindsay Smith, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Do you
Oh,
have any
hey.
connections to Michigan?
It's her double life.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
It's all her free time.
Your doppelganger. I'm
Tuesday
sorry,
through
Kate.
Thursday.
Let's get back to business. Bridget, you had some comments or corrections on,
Yeah, I would just say, just to clarify, the line 45 suggested color coding maybe by priority order is where I was going for.
Yeah, it's missing a word for sure.
yeah,
That'll work.
priority looks like it would be a good thing to add. Anything else, Bridget?
That was all I known.
Brad, anything? Sealy? Maynard? Maynard, you're muted. You're still muted. Still can't hear you. Rob, do you have him permanently shut off?
No.
There you
No.
go.
No, it's apparently Shift Control M does not work when you're in another program, even though you guys can see me. I was on Adobe looking at the minutes from September 26th, and it looks to me that line 25, where we refer to the minutes of September 14th, are they supposed to be September 12th and also on line 29?
Sounds right.
Yep.
Right, those are the dates of the other minutes that we're still going to approve are dated September 12th.
Yeah,
Correct.
Oh, do you guys need printed copies? Do we need to approve the September 12th minutes?
we haven't done them yet, have we?
Yeah.
Shall I go print some of those out?
Yeah.
I brought mine, I got mine.
why don't you print them out and we'll kind of get back to them.
4 copies.
We'll get back to them at some point during the meeting.
Yeah, last meeting, we put off
Yeah,
approving those minutes because we didn't have, they hadn't been distributed yet.
okay, so we'll get back to the September 14 or September 12th minutes a little bit later. Can I have a motion on the
Motion to approve the
September 26th.
the minutes, with the change from, Bridget.
Motion made,
Yeah.
change from Maynard as well.
Oh, and Maynard as well, sorry.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, say aye. Aye,
Aye.
opposed,
I have to abstain because I wasn't here.
and abstain. Okay. Next. We want to get into our master plan, which is like looking really close to being finished. Let's jump to the matrix portion first, since that's the newest. And then what I'd like to do is come back and go over the body of the plan for content, not for grammatical, spelling, that kind of stuff. We have, what, I think 2 or 3 people who have volunteered to proofread. And I think it's our job to make sure that we get the content correct, and then we'll hand it off. Hopefully, after this meeting or after Brandy makes whatever corrections or changes we deem necessary, then we'll hand it off to the proofreaders. And then we'll put it up on the website and start to get comments.
Implementation begins on page 50, although the page numbering was a little weird, not sure why. Because everybody have that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I show implementation appearing on page 49. Sorry, 48.
Yeah, I don't know why mine was all out of whack when I tried to print it, so maybe it was my computer and printer.
Yeah, I
The,
haven't printed
the
it.
page numbers in the PDF and the actual PDF pages, and then the little page numbers down in the corner weren't gonna match up perfectly in your draft because the there's 2 pages being held out for the table of contents. So
Okay.
there was slightly fewer pages in your PDF than there are in the actual document. So the implementation, if you look down in the lower left-hand corner, it should be starting on page 50. I don't know what page number that is in your PDF, but it should say 50 in the corner.
It's 49 on the PDF, or at least
Yeah.
on mine.
Mine's 50. I don't know why.
No, that's what she's saying.
Okay, yeah,
That one's 50, but on here, on the electronic one,
Ah,
it's
gotcha.
48, 49.
gotcha.
Okay, so let's go through the implementation section item by item.
Can I give a little bit of an intro and pose
Yes.
my questions to you
Okay.
guys? So I was not at your last meeting, so I did get your the Word file back with the table and some guidance, which I did attempt to implement, but there are some gaps. And so I also have my handwritten notes from 2 meetings ago, and I wasn't sure to what extent there was discussion at the meeting I was at, which was 2 meetings ago, about assigning more of these items to people, but I don't know if you made final decisions on that, or to entities, committees, or whatever. I didn't see all of that reflected in the Word document you sent me. So I only put into here what was in the Word document thus far, not the things that are in my handwritten notes from 2 meetings ago. So that's one of my questions to you all is, to what extent do you want the rest of that put in there or did you make different decisions at the last meeting? And then as a point of orientation, I went back to the guiding principles and added symbols for them, and then am using those symbols in the matrix. If you like that and you want to continue going in that direction, I would probably also add a key to these matrix pages as well. But I thought I would show that to you and see what you thought of it and whether you like this organizational structure better than the organizing it by the principles before I finalize that. And then I also saw in your notes that you were thinking about color coding these, and they're not color coded right now. Since most of them aren't prioritized at this point, I held off on doing that. That is still something we could do with that second, with the box that's sort of on the right hand side where the priority would be appearing, would be to color code those boxes. But that isn't done here yet. But I do note that you discussed that.
Okay, so to respond to your questions, the Word document that Lindsay did on the fly was meant as a guide. We did go through each of the recommendations and basically prioritize and decide who was responsible. And clearly that never made it over to you. So does anybody have a copy of that?
I ended up leaving.
No, but is this everything in the minutes, or did you only put the ones in there that we added to? Do you remember?
I thought the minutes were pretty complete.
Yeah, I would say, Brian, do you get the minutes?
I did try to include a lot of info in there.
Yeah, I feel like you did.
Yeah, if what's in the minutes is what you want to, so that's where I was not quite clear what bits of
Yeah.
information I wanted to carry forward, and so because there seemed to be differences between the various things I had, so I thought it was important to get you the structure and provide that to you so you could look at that, and then we can clarify what from the materials is to be used to fill this in.
It looks like it starts at the bottom of page 5, around line 150. That final table is the one that has all the information. A lot of tables in there.
Yeah, sorry. That last one, yeah. Which. And I know we talked about the symbols and a key versus another column, right? Is what we decided or talked about.
Can I jump in and say, Whitney Banker, if these are your notes, the inclusion of all these tables with the colors, the formatting that you did on these minutes, I think you went above and beyond typical minute taking. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I did steal the last table of information, some things off of Bridget's handwritten document though.
Glad you could make it out.
Good tag teaming there then. Very good tag team.
Okay, why don't we go through this in terms of what it looks like and then give Brandy an opportunity, now that she knows that the table relates to this, to, in essence, fill in the blanks and color all the boxes. Does that make sense to people? So the first is land use, which coincidentally happens to be green, which I think is a good color for land use. And I personally like the idea of the symbols, and you're relating them back to the guiding principles. I would like to see a key, preferably on each page of the matrix, but at least once. I guess that depends on how much room you actually wind up having. We talked about whether we would go with, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or use actual, years like 2023. And I think the consensus was that it made more sense to put the actual years down. Do I remember correctly?
You have to at least say what year one is. I mean, I think somewhere you have to note what year one is. If you don't,
Yeah,
Yeah,
just because it could be year 1, 2, 3, and if it doesn't get approved until 2024, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously it'll get approved before then, but I just think that that's where there has to be some sort of footnote of at least what year one is. I don't think then you can let people use their own knowledge to say.
it's either that or, because we went through the priorities that we just say, like, high priority means year 1 to 3, medium is, like, that's the only other way I could think of if we don't add it underneath. I thought, did I look at my notes at home? Like, we may have stopped doing the years. I may have lost sight on that one. Now I can't remember.
anybody else have a recollection?
Well, some are ongoing, I think, and they're just gonna, some would be years because they're bound, right? Like they're kind of
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess
start
we
and
did that.
end, and then, because like if you look at land use, the very last one, all 3 are in there, year 1, 1 to 3, although for me, I just don't, if I see year 1, to me, that's where things start. They don't start in year 0, but that's
No.
where my brain works. I know things probably start in year 0 and then you complete a year, but so, I don't know.
But I mean, we did on the timing. We have either ongoing, I think because some of them we just got stuck with it kind of is ongoing, like, they either know it's already started and we need to look at it more. Yeah, we definitely didn't give years to too many of them.
Is it, let me ask a question, might be dumb, I don't know. But with what we have here, is it feasible to do all that? Or for Rob and everybody that we have in these pages, everything be ongoing, is it feasible to, coordinate this and that and the regional missions and
If we don't
all
set our
the-
sights high, we're never gonna get there.
I mean, I think it's partially some of the stuff you're doing already. I mean, I think ongoing is feasible just because it has to happen. You gotta start, well, you guys already are kind of part of some of these groups, but I don't think you can put it off since you're gonna kind of touch on it continuously, and well, your name's on most of them, so. What do you? what are your thoughts?
Well, and Jack mentioned the other day that he's gonna use this to drive down objectives and goals for the different directors and like that, so I think your name will come off of some of it, and
So that was gonna be my next thing after further thought process, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ed,
I was like,
sorry, brain
Town
cramp.
manager.
I think town manager probably should go on every single one of these, cause ultimately
Yeah.
he will assign
Right.
as needed. Which sounds maybe silly, I don't know, but since ultimately everything rolls up to him. And I do think maybe with anything we suggested Eva on, it needs to, we need to adjust the wording and probably say like, in collaboration with or something, because we can't assign them anything. We can only work with them if they want to.
Mhm.
But those are my only thoughts.
Okay, anybody else have any comments on land use?
Well, just going to the year thing and the ongoing thing, like what what gets started in year 2 and what gets started in year 3? Like, I feel like we either have ongoing or it starts in year 1, which is then right away as well. So did we assign? I didn't line the two of them up next to each other.
So I think one of the questions I would have is if you are going to assign a calendar year, is that the year you're starting or the year you're completing?
Good question.
Because something like doing a regulatory update, you would plan at least a 2-year time frame for that. You're looking at, at a minimum.
What do you think? We've always been looking at this as the date that we're starting.
Yeah.
And, Brandy raises a good point that we should have a target completion date. Or we could do both, which gets us back to the year 1 to year 3.
Well, I guess I would ask, what is the plan for reviewing this? I know we're gonna have it as like a living document, but are we saying like in 10 years, we start this process all over again and really like dig in? Or do we think we're never gonna do that and just
Well, I think the goal
constantly
is,
go at it?
I think the goal is to constantly review it and make it a living document, right?
Yeah,
And so it doesn't sit on the shelf, it gets used, right? Which means you're gonna update it periodically
I
on
mean,
some sort of a schedule.
yeah, we still have, 5 more chapters to write in the next batch and maybe 2 or 3 after that. So it might be we come back in 3 years and look at this again and start updating.
Yeah,
I
because
don't,
we complete it and then every time the town has to adopt it, right? Or you adopt it. How's that working?
the planning board adopts it, and any updates, I think, would be considered amendments. Would that be right, Rob?
I would think amendment would be more like a legal document, so I don't think you need to necessarily call them amendments. We amend our zoning ordinance, we amend the constitution, but you don't think you have to amend the.
Okay, you just say which
Master plan.
version it is or whatever, page or.
Or revision, just like a textbook.
Brandy, what's proper
What
in
do
New
you got?
Hampshire? You've done a couple of these and we have.
Yeah, I think if you were going to be making, like, adding something to the document and not going in and editing large chunks of the existing text, you would go through, you would call it an amendment, but there's just basically the adoption process. So if you want to change the language in the document, you follow the adoption process. Generally, I don't think it's referred to as a new adoption if the bulk of the content, isn't changing. And then typically it's good practice to think that you would review sort of the overall vision and direction of a plan, on a 10, you shouldn't obviously go the 25 years that you guys have just gone with yours, or closing in on 30. So 10 to 15 years, it really depends on the pace of change in your community. And then when you do that, you're really doing more of a public check-in to make sure that that broad direction is still accurate and good. And then, depending on what you hear back, you decide on the scope of your review and change of the plan. If you're looking at doing just sort of chapter level updates or additions, those you would not necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily describe those as a new adoption of a new document, but an amendment to the existing one.
And I guess that's what I was thinking. Like, if we're gonna go back to the public every 10
I
years,
think that's different. To me, that's different. Like the vision, the mission, the content, big ideas, that's a larger go back to the public. That's a different revision than checking back in to making sure that we're working on these implementation goals.
Right.
That is something that if we assign something into year 1, 2, or 3, We're not waiting 10 years to see if it got done.
Oh, for
We
sure.
need to be checking in and saying, is this ongoing? Has this started? You know, and this chapter should be getting updated yearly.
That's what I was wondering, like,
That just as like checking in and, oh, we haven't even started this project
Just
yet.
like
you know what I mean?
individual goals.
Right, like
people.
the
Yeah.
bulk of the plan we should have written it solidly enough that it lasts a decade. Again, with the change of the world, depending on, you know, the rate of community change. But the implementation chapter should have a regular check-in to see, has this started? You know, why not?
Yep.
Maybe we missed it, you know, or maybe it just doesn't make sense yet, because some of these things probably, we can't just start them all right now, you
Right.
know?
Yeah,
There's not a capacity to do that, but then also, are any of them, we have to get some stuff done first before you can get other things done, you know? We don't need to start more projects until we get the projects already on the docket started, but some of those things that are on the docket, fixing Whitney Hall, you know, or making a new building, sewer, water, like those things that have been approved are on the docket. We can reinforce in here, like, this needs to be started. You know,
Makes sense.
creating new things
right,
can wait a little bit. If we're listening to the town, if you're just listening to what people want, you know, we passed some big budget items and we should make that follow through, but it doesn't mean that we don't start looking at what do complete streets look like. And we don't start gathering that information and making small incremental changes if that's needed, you know? But that's what I think is this is the hard part, is that we can assign stuff, but it may not, knowing how it's gonna happen in real time and real life is, that's a little bit variable. So we have to have check-in dates, like this is to be reviewed, or like this chapter.
that's what I was gonna, so do we put that at the top? At that beginning paragraph and state like to be reviewed annually by the planning board or something? I don't know, you know, like,
Implementation chapter.
yeah, or the matrix or implementation chapter.
So-
Yeah.
You could definitely have some of that in implementation. I don't think I would recommend that you update the implementation section annually. I think that's fairly time intensive. In terms of thinking about the time that your volunteers have to go to meetings and to do things, you know, you might want to think about it every couple of years, but not, which is kind of one of the ways to sort of think about those chunks of time. Like, what are you going to do the first, you know, 3 years, and then, you know, or something like that. So thinking about it in increments, and then come back around and do one, because, you know, think about, you have to organize, you know, you have to do the work to make the changes, which is a couple of meetings. You have to, you know, to the implementation chapter, you have to warn the public hearing, you have to have the public hearing, you then have to have another meeting where there's a vote on the plan. So that level of annual activity would end up eating up.
Sorry, maybe I might have used the wrong word. I don't mean updating. I mean like checking in to see if we're following it. You know, like that's
Okay,
like
yeah.
looking at it and going, did we start this project? No. Okay, you know, like not making actual like substantive changes, but like this is the chapter that we would get reviewed and just like, are we following what's written here, kind of thing. Not making actual like
Changes to it.
changes.
I think if we
Right.
had anything that changed, it would be the Word document, we'll call it, of this matrix. That
And-
might go on like the LEAP site or something, you know, where we can direct people like,
But that's what I'm
that's
wondering.
what gets.
So
reviewed.
Brandy, do we have to have, like, if we put something ongoing and we say it started, and then we can say it's completed, and we say completed, we don't have to, you know, we change the status of something in the implementation chapter. If we change the status of it, does that have to go through an entire review process?
Yeah,
I
you
would
can't
think so.
change the master plan without
And-
doing the adoption
Okay.
process. But that
Okay.
doesn't mean you say you couldn't export this out and put it on a website and be, you know, keeping it as a guiding document. It's just not, it is not the master plan at that point. It's, you know, it's a working document that you're using, but it's not the master plan anymore.
Okay, so then is there any point in assigning like more than to doing year one and year two? Like, if something doesn't happen in year two, according to the master plan, but it's gonna need to be year three because, you know, X, Y, Z, we just make a mental note, we don't change it? Or, you know what I mean? Like, is it
I think-
worth
I
putting
think-
that in?
I think Ed and the selectmen are going to use a version of this in order to control it. The master plan is gonna stay static until the next major
Right, right.
revision
I'm-
slash adoption.
I'm
but I-
wondering if we're doing a lot of work that goes into a document that's not, I don't know, like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it worth putting year 1 through 3, or is it just, or just assigning priority?
Yeah.
You know, if we can't go and change it, we just say, these what we hear are the high priorities, medium priorities, ongoing, and just work on that.
Maybe that's easier and a better way to do it, is just
Yeah,
prioritize it, and then you let the people that are gonna do the work figure
Mhm.
out year 1, year 2, year 3.
yeah, I'm wondering if this implementation metrics should even be included as part of the plan, if it's something that is gonna get updated as a auxiliary or
I think
secondary.
I think it would be useful for the reader to see
Yeah,
it
I
the
think
first
it
time
needs
through.
to be on the plan, just because
So-
I feel like it fulfills a promise of being a
Mhm.
living document, so people can see,
Yeah,
you know, but I do think if we do that, let's say we put it on the LEAP site, and that's where the working document can live and be updated, that maybe that gets referenced, if that's where it's gonna get, wherever it's gonna be housed, it gets referenced in this chapter, so people who go back and read the
Yeah, check
master
the
plan.
status of these is
Yeah.
somewhere else, but if we just assign priority,
I would agree with you that, yeah.
and then we're not getting into this, like, that minute detail that we can't actually foresee. Really, the planning board and the select board or whomever's in charge are gonna have to, we say this is a high priority according to the town, but we don't really need to get into that detail of like, this starts in year 1, this
When
one
it
starts in year
happens.
2, because
Yeah.
that's, I
Yeah.
think, beyond our scope.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
Yeah, I agree
we're
with that.
20,000 feet.
Yeah, and we can
Yeah.
create a document that then people can check if they're, you know, if needed, you know, I mean, but we have it assigned, so each committee should be able to answer what's the status of.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you put the status in the living version of it, that, yeah, people can check on, and see when it is completed.
Right.
Cause yeah, we can't control the budget part either, so if the town
Right.
does not pass something that we really
Right,
want to
so this
happen.
would give, this
not
would
happen.
say, like, this is what we heard was a high priority. This is what we heard was, you know, something that should just be always on our radar. This is what we've heard is, you know, coming up, or even, you know, I don't even know if there's a medium priority, you know, but like, I think we should just do that. And then, and take out year 1 to 3, then we don't have to, we know the date that this was written.
Right.
And then if we need a status document or something elsewhere for, because people want to actually see tracking, we can do that. That's not in this, that has to be adopted. Something that could be updatable. Does that make more sense, Brandy?
I think that
I don't wanna
can
have a-
work. That the timing and the priority are actually getting at two slightly different things. They're, you know, but if you want to just sort of pancake those together and make priority, you know, assuming that you're going to do the most important things first, which, you know, isn't always the case.
Right,
Because
it's not always
sometimes,
the lowest hanging fruit.
right, exactly. You know, sometimes the opportunities line up differently than that. But you know, if you, and there may be a couple of these things that you do have an actual sort of sense of, particularly the nearer ones, the time frame. And I think it can be useful to sort of do that so that you have a work plan going forward. One of the things that's not in your implementation matrix is to do those additional chapters of the plan, for instance. That doesn't show up in the actual chapters of the plan, obviously, as a recommendation.
For the plan.
Mhm.
But you know, that is something that could also get added in here. So if you're actually thinking about, is there a work plan for the near future laid out here, in your master plan. Yeah, I think as you get further out, knowing what year something's gonna happen, it becomes less reasonable. But if you've got some things that you want to sort of bring to the forefront and say, these are the things that should commence right away, if we can do it.
Yeah, I think having, our next step as task force, the next chapters as part of our implementation would be a good idea so that people know that we are going to continue working on this and that this is not the final document. So I would like to see that, somewhere, whether it's in the implementation matrix or just a paragraph. I'll leave that to Randy to decide. See, Lee, what?
I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in.
You always do.
I know it, but
Go
this is
ahead,
what
go
I
ahead.
think. I'm looking at the transportation and, I'm looking at who makes all the decisions. And what I'm concerned about is our rural roads. And we've got Jim Taylor and the CIP and TIP all in on making the decisions on roads, but the roads, I believe would be more focused on our state roads and in the village and those kinds of roads, but not the dirt roads that are out in, in hinterland, that's where it's really rural. And to try and keep that as part of the character of the town. And one of the things I came across just driving around yesterday was the Potato Road. I heard that the CIP, first of all, wants $800,000 to put in these massive culverts on the Potato Road. I'm going, what are they talking about? So I went down the Potato Road and they really widen that out. And that's a dirt road. And I don't know why they would do that. Except for people who go from Enfield to over to Canaan. But in planning, usually, I can remember, I'm not gonna go in the past, but there's not enough people living out there that we should go and spend $800,000
So
to
what's,
put in culvert.
okay,
So
but
what I'm saying is plan, in the plan, there's nothing about the rural roads. And I'd hate to have the CIP people and these other people, it's gotta be in the plan for the town,
but
the overall.
Sealy, who's in charge of the roads? Who makes the plan? Who takes care of them?
Depends
Well,
on the road.
Public
Depends on the
Works
road.
Director does.
Okay. So,
So, but
so do we have an entity in town that deals with only the rural roads? And a different
no,
entity that deals with the,
just all Public Works, but this is
okay,
a need that really should be done. This is part of your planning.
So we have the state that takes care of
Right.
the state roads.
do they?
Right.
No, they
don't. They're
Your
supposed to.
rural roads gives you your bike riding.
I mean, I understand what they do. I'm just the point is, what's the point? Is that you want us to add in another thing to the plan that we haven't done
I
already?
think we have to include the rural roads to distinguish it from the,
It
I
Other
think that's in our, keeping our character, the preservation.
And it talks about rural roads in the chapter.
Yeah,
But it doesn't probably talk enough about it.
No,
I don't, you're right, and it's.
And I also, I have one thing for Sealy, though. You might actually like this.
Good.
One of the reasons why those culvert replacements are so expensive is because the newer thinking is that you have open bottom. They're called box culverts. It's not
Yeah.
really a culvert, it's more of a bridge.
Yeah.
And it's a huge improvement for wildlife. Because the old days of having a pipe,
Right,
they've found that that's not good. You actually want it to be more of a natural bottom,
right.
so that little critters can work their ways
I
up.
wanna keep us like what our job is, and our job isn't to, like, so if we missed a section of rural roads in the transportation section, we need to go back and do that ASAP, because we're at
It's in there.
we're at the end here, so, and if it's just say like, we don't like this project and who's in charge of it, or not, we don't like who's in charge of it, but like, who's in charge of it isn't changing because
It
of the
should be
plan.
part of the town plan.
But we have supports. So one of our guiding principles is supports and preserves our rural character while simultaneously embracing 21st century technology. So I think, kind of based on what Rob just said, I think that is doing both. We have to update them because we're found actually there's a better way to do it. But we are still protecting it being rural, because I mean, they're not gonna pave it.
Right, but they don't have to be that big, the way, how wide that road is.
But I
And
know,
also the stone walls have disappeared. And even on our property that goes along Potato Road, the stone walls are gone. And years ago, I said something to the town manager, had him come up. I said, they're pushing the stone walls. You can't see them now, they're gone.
Yep.
But I don't want that to happen all over the town,
Yep.
you know?
So that's where, I mean, that has to be at the committee level. That's not, I mean, we can say preserve, and we can say be responsible, and we can say this,
Well, I
but
think we
like,
should.
we do.
We
we
do.
do,
we
that's
do,
in
but
the-
it's on
say that.
over.
that's in our guiding principle under
But
support.
decisions get made elsewhere, and they use this as a guide. We need to get it passed, so they have it, right now they can do stuff without it. You know, if we don't get this done, I mean, not to push it to just get it done, but like, decisions are being made without the plan. As a guiding thing, and the more we don't get this done,
Well, I'm not trying to hold you, I'm just.
I know,
trying
but
to-
I'm saying if it's not in there, our job is to make sure that there's a reference, but we can't, but it's open for interpretation. And that's where the public and people have to be on the committees, and this is a committee argument, or wherever those decisions are being made. We're not making the decisions here.
But we do have the matrix,
Right,
and there's no,
so so you're saying
No,
that
the
we have to
matrix is
pull
just-
out
Right, those are the
rural roads
suggestions.
specifically on the matrix? Is that what the
Can I
thinking is?
say that I think what I hear Celia asking for is a recommendation in the transportation section that speaks to rural roads and maintaining their character.
Okay, I think that's what I was trying to ask, if that's what you wanted, is a recommendation specifically for rural roads.
yes,
Okay.
Okay,
Done.
It's still gonna get assigned to the same people that are doing the rural
that's
roads.
fine, that's fine,
okay.
but we.
but
Okay.
it'll be there
Okay,
at the 20,000 foot level.
yeah,
Just a point of order. So we spent 45 minutes so far today, and we have not made a lot of progress on the implementation plan.
Uh-huh.
We need to move along.
Okay.
I guess we can.
Anything else on implementation that we want to talk about? Okay, let's go back to the very beginning. And let's talk about content. And let me get my single page view.
Can I make a comment? Maynard,
Yeah, Vader, go ahead.
I'm not sure who found all the photos that are in this version, but they are stunning to me. I think I was just blown away by the imagery in this plan, and I applaud both the actual photos and the way they are presented here. Thank you very much.
As a drone photography business,
PowerPoint.
and we went out for what, 3 or 4 hours a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And she came back with some absolutely fantastic images. So,
And they're beautiful.
Which in regard to that, I agree with Maynard. I would second everything he said. But one of the things that I felt as I was going through the plan, is it possible to put a caption on all of these photos? Because some of them I did
Yes.
not know where they were.
yes,
A couple, right?
Randy.
You probably
So-
knew them all.
Captions could definitely be added. Actually, that could be one of the interactive features that we could do a little info thing and pop up info about the photo, but I'm going to need help with writing those, because, so probably Rob, that's on you.
Yes.
I certainly know what many of them are, but some of them I will need more specific
I like the ones
info.
with the people in them.
You like which one?
The ones with the people in them, I think are fantastic. So the people on the ski lift, people at the implementation chapter putting together desks, those are my two favorites.
Picnic tables.
Huh?
Yes.
I mean, I
Even
think
putting
all
together
of them
picnic
are great.
tables.
Oh, picnic tables.
Yes.
The lake shots, the business shots, the intersections, you
That's a good one.
know, they're
Where
beautiful,
is it?
beautiful. The,
Where's that one?
the overhead view of Jake's and the Hewitt House and the Hughes Park, that's beautiful, beautiful picture.
That could be Spectacle Pond. Maybe?
That could be on the
Maynard,
bottom.
I'm gonna argue
Could be Crystal Lake.
with you on the Jake's photograph, because all that I see is the big flat roof. And I would suggest, and, you know, it's up to the group, there's a nice shot that we did, or that, Bridget did, is it Bridget? Yeah,
Brittany.
Brittany did,
This is Bridget.
of the old barn that is now, Keene Medical. And I'd kind of like to see you swap that one out.
Well, I would debate with you on that heavily, mainly because this is the village right here. This is the center. This is where, in economic development, we're talking about trying to make things happen in this area. Not out by Keene Medical, but right in this spot right here. And it shows Route 4 coming through. It shows Whitney Hall. It shows the bank. It shows Hewitt House, the church, the community building. You can even see Mickey's in it if you look carefully. I think this is a terrific photo.
And
Especially for economic
I would counter that the Keene Medical Building shows repurposing and reuse of an older building.
I'm sure we have our positions on it, but
Can we do both?
this is economic development, and there's not any economic development that's going to take place over by Keene. It's been done. That's it. So
I actually didn't know what the Red Barn building was from the set of photos. So one suggestion I may have is to do a variation on the 3 photos that are in the spread on page 38 to 39 and get the additional photo in there, either a replacement out, the little Enfield Market one that actually I may be able to find another home for anyway, but could do some rearranging if you want to get that Red Barn photo in too.
yeah, if it's a good
They
photo,
are
I'm happy to see it in there.
They
I
are
just,
the largest employer in town.
Who?
It used to be Dana Rhodes and they made Shaker furniture.
It used to be.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that.
And I would say there's more staff at Keene Medical than there is at EU.
What about instead of Shaker Granite? Because it's really hard to tell what Shaker Granite is. And put
That's
Keene Medical there.
that's kind of what I was getting at, Lindsay. I can either resize these or
I
shift
really had
them
to
around
I
a
was
bit.
like, what
Yeah.
is that? And then I'm like, oh, those
I
are
did the
giant
same
granite
thing.
slabs, so it's Shaker Granite.
Oh, yeah.
I would swap that out, put Keene Medical there. I like the little Enfield Market sign. And I do like the Jake's one just because it does give it just gives that whole intersection, that whole area.
that's actually a good point about the Shaker Granite, because that's the site that the Municipal Facilities Committee is looking at right now for the for the public safety complex.
Yeah, so that may change and we'll get that in
Great.
later or something, but it's just hard to tell what that is unless I was like, what?
Yeah, it took me a while too.
So I would switch that one out. I like the rest of them. Well, I
Okay,
mean,
so going back to the beginning, I have one sort of an overall comment. We use quotes at the beginning of each chapter. and sometimes within the chapters. And some of them have great big gigantic open quote marks and smaller, close quotes at the end, but then there are others that have no close quotes at the end. Did you lose Brandy?
Oh, no.
You're not supposed to
No,
have
no.
any closed quotes, so I'll go find the closed quotes and get rid of them.
Okay. Just looking for consistency.
Yeah, I think some copying and pasting got out of hand.
I hope you're talking content and not proofreading.
Hell yeah.
If people have comments, just jump in with what they are.
Do you have any extra copies of this thing? Is this?
Page 13, my page 13, it is the watersheds. And it looks like Bricknell Brook, which is the feed to Crystal Lake, is highlighted in the on the map, but not specified on the watershed.
What page are we on?
I'm not sure that's important, but I was just looking at it because I know it. And I'm not sure that's important, but I noticed it.
So it's probably that the smaller brook is not broken down to there's not a watershed at that level. The watersheds come down sort of the river order level. So this is the sort of second level of watershed. They have a nomenclature that is used for them. I think that's a USGS nomenclature.
Okay.
There's like an 8 and a 12, you know. So basically, if you think of it as the Mascoma watershed is the big one.
Yeah.
And that, well, actually, the Connecticut is the big one.
Right,
And we have
right.
the Mascoma. And then, so we're down one below that. But little sub watersheds below that
Okay.
are not being mapped. But if there are some other surface waters that you would like labeled on here, that's still a possibility. So if you'd like to see the named brooks labeled, we can get that on there.
I think you explained it. Thank you.
I think I would like these, the other, prominent ones, like, I think there's 3 here. If even, I know it'd be really small type, I don't know if that would be helpful or not, but people are, again, this is also there's, people are gonna be like, what? You can't name my lake, my pond? There's 7 bodies of water in Enfield. That's like a fact that gets told over and over and over. I would like to see those, just if possible, the ones that are a little bit more predominant.
Well, what I can do is
Copy that.
work on, we can number them or
Okay.
well, we've already numbered the watersheds, maybe letter them and they could get added in there to the legend. There's room to do that. I don't think trying to get the text on the map will work very well.
Okay.
Crystal Lake's, as you can see, about the end of
Yeah.
making it work. Geometrically.
Yeah.
Page 20, this is the village planning areas that on my copy looks orange-ish. Yeah, right there. So on the right-hand column, the top paragraph, Route 4A is a popular walking, blah, blah, blah. And if you go down to the bottom paragraph, it's repeated. Just a little awkward. I noticed that we need to remove one or make changes. So, yeah.
Yeah, there is a reason why it's repeated. I do actually, it's not exactly word for word, but it's obviously the corridor runs through both of those planning areas. So it runs through Enfield Center and Shaker Village. But maybe I can at least rearrange the paragraph so it doesn't start with the same words in each paragraph.
Brad, while you're looking can I direct people to, where is it? I have clicked on this. It's not. Okay, on page 16 of the PDF, under current zoning and build out, one to about middle of the third paragraph. You say that the Route 4 district is the only district that has a density limit or requirement. And I believe that the CB district has no density requirements or limits as well. Rob, is that?
Yeah, because I think the Route 4 is an overlay of the CB.
It is not an overlay.
Isn't that how we originally did it, Randy?
No, it's not an overlay, it's its own district.
It's a zone district.
Yeah, meets and bounds.
So yeah, the CB.
So
So-
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the sentence that you're referring to. Can you point it again?
The paragraph that starts, the Route 4 district was substantially revised in 2013 and go down four lines. Actually go down 3 lines. The
That it
third
is the
line,
only zoning
it
district?
is the only district currently allows for higher density housing.
Well, I think this is an argument of what you think the minimum cutoff for high density housing is. I would argue that what's allowed in the CB district isn't high density.
There's no limit in the CB.
There's a minimum lot size.
Is there, Rob?
Let's pull it up.
I mean, we had this discussion the other day in relation to.
Now, you did do a zoning change in March, or maybe I guess it wasn't March, right? But that was just on that individual piece, right?
That was the one lot, right?
Just the one lot.
Here it is, community business. Let's see. Right there.
That's your minimum lot size.
Mm-hmm.
But you could put a multifamily dwelling on whatever size lot and have however many units you wanted to.
Yeah, I've always assumed that CB was where we could, whatever the land will support,
Yeah,
a la, Hewitt House. Said 9 units on that one little,
or on the thing we just approved for Kelleher, 6. On what, a quarter acre, less than a quarter acre?
Yep.
Anywho, that was just sort of a, I guess, a factual change.
Okay.
Page 30 under the capital plan, the second paragraph,
what page?
30.
Page 30.
Yeah, right there. You just went by it. Yeah, that capital plan. The second paragraph talks about transportation improvements. And the TIF district could be funded in whole and part, and it says to date, no transportation projects have been considered for TIF funding. It sort of begs the question of why. Do we want to answer the why? Because anybody that reads that's gonna ask why in their head. Or is that not our purview?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
What's the answer?
I have no idea.
I mean, it has,
What's the answer, Rob?
I think it depends on what the answer is. You know,
To date, we've only used TIF for, the sewer and water extension on Route 4. That's it. Well, we have done, I think there's a project actually earmarked for in front of Jake's, a crosswalk for some lighting upgrades. Kate's on. Kate?
But-
I don't know if she's still there.
Pretty sure. So do we maybe just
yeah, that's, so
reword
my,
it?
right, 'cause that's what I'm, it's like, to me, it's what's the answer and is it, not to. Is the point pertinent?
So I would
it a
assume the
good why?
reason that you haven't had any projects is that you have not done a major sort of street reconstruction on a town. Like you would use TIF funding if you were on a town road and you were going to basically pull it up, redo the infrastructure, put in sidewalks. That's the sort of project that you would fund with the TIF. Something you'd have to bond for, and then you'd be using the TIF revenues to offset the payback of the bond.
Right.
So it would have to be a big project.
So, I mean, to me, is that a more complete answer? So to date, no large transportation projects have been, or, you know what I mean, like, have been, I'm just saying, like, the why, like, is there a way to answer it in there? Just, I don't know.
Remind me how much of the TIF
Ugh.
is not a state road? How much of it would be, because Main Street, state, Route 4, state. So if we have TIF money, which is fine, we're not gonna be improving the road. It's like probably sidewalks, right? Or the sewer, like we've done the other improvements. So maybe transportation isn't the right
Sidewalks.
word to
Yeah.
use there because we've done projects, just we can't fix the state road. We can't do a
Right, I mean,
transportation
you
project
could
on that.
you could find yourself in a situation where you would be doing a project in sort of jointly with the state through some sort of an agreement whereupon typically the municipality ends up responsible for the sidewalks. Sometimes for if you were going to be doing something with some on-street parking, whereas the state may maintain it and continue to have responsibility for the travel lanes. You know, there's some deal worked out over who's paying for what parts of the infrastructure. But you know, you wouldn't, I guess the point I was trying to make is that you wouldn't use TIF funding for a small scale project. TIF funding is for big projects.
So would it be, correct to say, or maybe like transportation improvements, such as adding sidewalks within Enfield's tax increment financing district could be funded in whole or part through TIF revenues to date? No, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I
that's giving like a focus,
that
like
better.
not,
I like
not
that
just
better.
transportation,
Good.
Yeah.
you know?
That's what I was worried about. If we just change that wording a little bit.
But like adding
Okay.
like, because we are talking about sidewalks,
And
we are,
complete
that is
streets.
throughout this plan, that's something that's there, and then it's like, oh, you know, and that's within our scope.
We could tie it back to if we
Ties it
throw in the
around.
complete streets,
Right,
right? If we
exactly.
throw that word in there.
I think if we just add in that little bit, like give it some parameters or
Yep.
some definition, that's the,
Okay, I got another one. The infographic on page 34. The top bar graph
What-
is
Wait,
Okay.
what's the page number?
on
Oh,
the,
on
page
the
on the
36.
document.
Oh,
Yeah, you just got it.
okay. Yeah, the top bar graph is titled Employment Locations. And in the text, you refer to employment sectors, which I think describes what you're talking about better than locations.
No, the bar chart, what it's actually, you might say that it would be businesses. It's the number of businesses. But it isn't necessarily mean that it's each business location. So if you had a business that had 3 locations in the community, it would show up in this chart 3 times, not 1 time. But employment locations is actually businesses. I can work on trying to make that a clearer statement. It's
Could you just
sadly
call it employer
Census Bureau
locations?
speak.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Or is it too, yeah, all right.
We have to make
Technically,
it
yeah, you
consistent
could
with
say
what it's used
employers,
to.
but it's,
Do that.
if you want to get really like demographically precise, that isn't quite true. But I don't think we need to be that precise.
I have another change on that page or somewhere, I'm not sure where, throughout the plan in several areas, we talk about, population densities and different stats related to, census data, et cetera. Somewhere in here, we have to, in the text itself, we need to inform the reader that Enfield has, shrunk over the last 3 census, 2000, 2010 through 2020. I think that is a very important statistic that the reader knows about. It's on your chart later on somewhere, it shows that, but we don't draw anybody's attention to it. And I think
Yeah,
it's,
it's in the housing stuff
Yeah.
on page 48.
yeah, so you could put it in here where you talk about it, you could put it in on 48, but I really think that we need to make that statement, because it was the most shocking thing I saw in this whole work that we've done.
I don't think the place for it would be in economic development. It's probably better to find a place for it here in either in the opening land use chapter or in the housing chapter.
Yeah, wherever you feel best it fits.
Land use might be good because the question. It might play with like. The properties and houses versus, just because the number has shrunk, it doesn't mean we have all these empty houses sitting around kind of thing, 'cause we don't, but we have
Right.
fewer people living in those houses.
Right, and a smaller tax base,
Right, so maybe
Right.
that's,
smaller tax base, that's the scary thing.
Well, the
And-
household number hasn't been going down. That's the difference. The population,
that
or
again?
much more accurately, the number of households isn't going down, and
Yeah,
that's really more your tax
that's
base
true,
component,
that's true.
or housing units even more
But the
accurately.
population going down.
But the population, it is really literally, there are fewer people living in each one.
And that's not happening to the same degree in any other of the Upper Valley towns. It's only Enfield that has dropped 3 census in a row. And so that's concerning.
That's significant.
It is significant, it's concerning, and if you want to revitalize downtown, you need people, right? And we're working on that with zoning possible changes and all that, but it's a big thing.
Yeah, but we just sold the downtown and put people in it. We're not gonna have downtown. It's, you know, With increased population. I mean, some of it is also just that,
Schools too.
it comes up frequently. And
the population changes, though, I think I mean, it's concerning, but it's also, it's not gonna be the consistent trend. We have a larger, older population, you know, and so but it also is a.
But it goes to the fact that, young families can't move into town and the school student population is down and it really.
Sure, there's
contributes
also
to-
nowhere for them to move into. The
Yeah.
households
Right.
are filled,
that's
Yeah.
the
but they
problem.
just, you know,
Absolutely.
we don't have a senior
Yep.
area, like, you know, we've got a lot
But I
of,
think it supports, that fact supports everything we're trying to do.
sure.
And I don't think the average Enfield resident knows that this is what's happening to our population.
Yeah, I think it's a multi-factor thing too. You also have more younger.
And that's
individuals
all
who
in the
aren't having
affordable
children.
housing, but also affordable housing would be to have, you know,
You can have so much.
a better kind of senior housing that's not necessarily a group home or, you know, assisted living. There's a something else that's in between, and that's an unmet need, which is we have in here, the older residents.
So you're saying for 30 years it's gone down?
At each 10-year
Yeah.
census. Scary to it.
Right.
Scary. And every other town is either jumped crazy, like Lebanon, I think, or slow growth. And what you want in a town is slow
It's
growth.
slow growth.
And we're going down.
So then which I guess leads to the whole overall theme of what do we do or what do we suggest in the master plan, future planning to increase
Well, I mean,
to a point.
yeah, I mean, we've already talked about it, right? Lindsay made the point of, the housing, affordable housing is a great point towards it. And revitalizing downtown
It's
and,
economic development.
higher density zoning. So all of the stuff that we've talked about in this plan that we think the selectmen and town manager should concentrate on will address that issue if implemented and done,
Mhm.
my belief.
Yeah, I think the connection to be made there is back to the household size, and it goes back to the point that was just raised about the demographics and the aging of the population. So the reason that your population has declined perhaps more than some of the surrounding communities is that you had more of an echo baby boom. So you had a lot of families with children, proportionally more than some of the other communities. And so now you have empty nesters instead. The same people, they haven't gone anywhere. And so that's the reason for your change, just because that was more dominant in your
Or
mix.
the parents
Like
haven't
in
gone
the
anywhere,
80s
but the
and the
kids
90s,
have
right.
left.
Kids have left.
Right,
The
that's
kids have
kids have
gone,
left.
but the kids, they grew up, they went to school, and they left.
Yeah.
So that's proportionally, I think you had a younger, more family-oriented population, probably in the late 80s and early 90s than the community surrounding you, which is why your impact is greater. It's not that the trend is different, it's just sort of a distribution question.
I have another change on page either 32 or 33. One of the things that I heard over and over and over again was the public transit, which starts on 32 and recommendations are on 33. And what I'd like to see is either under public transit, a sentence, or one of the recommendation is to extend the advanced transit to La Salette and Enfield Center, because I heard it 100,000 times. And even from Father John Sullivan. So I'd like to put that in black and white somewhere.
On 4A.
Well, I think that is in there, just to participate, it's the last one, participate in transportation planning activities of the Upper Valley. Oh, that's like it's gonna be, I mean,
It's sort of wishy-washy. I mean,
It
it sort
is.
of gets at to it.
Well, it's actually the one that's promote. So
is it promote?
promote the
Okay.
availability. We could
Oh,
actually
pretty.
add those specific
Yeah.
destinations to that one.
Yeah.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, and maybe you just say along Route
Al-
4A,
along
and we won't
4A.
get the specific.
Yeah, that's fine. Along 4A out to Enfield Center, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it.
I know you would. I said it. for you.
Another thing that AT is always hearing is that they want weekend service.
Oh, yeah.
They're having meetings currently. I don't know if it's coming up or just passed about expanding the area. I'm sure it's, right now we can't even get them to
Well, you
Centerra
remember,
Park.
we
and-
met with, who did
You
we
know,
meet with? He
And
was a
there's
super nice
like
guy.
several thousand people in
Advanced
Centerra
Transit.
Park.
And Chestnut.
Dan Chestnut. He was talking about that the the ridership can't support the weekend stuff. There are a
That's-
few vocal people that really want it,
Yeah.
but there's not enough to pay for to make it worthwhile.
And that's
then you
the
get
decision
town-
investing in.
Yeah, and then you get towns like Canaan
so?
who have cut support altogether for
So
advanced transit.
Charge a quarter,
they do.
That's what I
25 cent
do.
ride, 25 cent ride.
Yeah.
People pay 25, you know. And then
There's a lot of reasons why they haven't done that.
sure, and I mean, and because the most people that use advanced transit are economically disadvantaged. And
You don't want
so,
money on board the bus is another big,
well, oh, yeah, so I mean, there's cards,
right?
you know, electronic. That, and I'm sure that there's funds that could go to support people that apply for it, but it's, I mean,
Twofold this and the recommendations.
But- that's for them to figure out, not us.
It's-
Kind of, cause what you're, like, I agree with what you're saying, but I think overall in this country, there's more of a stigma on utilizing it. So if we said promote the availability, what if we said promote the use of, or availability and use of?
Yeah.
That, only because I'm just thinking if it's something that Enfield wants to take on, I don't know, let's say we
Well-
post signs around, or we just kind of get that, some phrase out there, because if we're gonna invest money as a town, we should probably promote
Promote
the
it,
use of,
right.
not just the availability of. Because I feel like you go to Europe and you can be rural and there's still like buses that go out there,
Right.
you know, but we don't have that mentality.
I think,
So
I
is
think,
there a
I think you're,
mentality shift?
you're right on. There are a lot of people that don't understand how easy it is to go into Hanover.
Mhm.
You know, parking wise, instead of
Right.
parking, they drop you off in front of the
So
building.
that could definitely be a charge for us. We can't change the bus routes, you know, we can.
Right.
Right, but I mean, I
Promote.
like that, but if we also help promote the use of public transportation,
Yeah,
that goes along with climate
How about-
goals. Yeah.
We changed the wording to promote the use of the free public transit available to Enfield residents, boom, 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 boom. And then down at the end, I'll add particularly along Route 4A, where we're talking about expansion, particularly along Route 4A out to Enfield Center.
Perfect.
Good.
David, I just want to make you aware, Randy's only available with us till 7:30, so.
Oh,
Well,
Okay.
I can hang a little bit longer, but I do need to transition over to Warren at some point. I told them I would be in the 7:30 to 8 o'clock range.
okay, well, you got 10 more minutes. I'll throw one more at you. On page 28, under public parking, is there a reason that you did not put in the parking areas for the beach and the boat launch?
What page are, oh, okay,
Page-
it's not,
page-
yeah, page,
It's.
sorry,
28.
that's
of the
actually page 30,
PDF,
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
found public
page 30
parking,
of the document.
okay,
Public parking.
Yep.
That little section.
Mhm.
You did not incorporate, you did not list, the parking area over by the boat dock and Shakoma Beach. And I
Yep,
wondered if there was a reason why you didn't.
I think we were working on a map of parking, and there is somewhere, which is a good point, that there is a more detailed parking section and description and map, which I now I'm having a memory of making. So I know it exists, but it is not in here. I think it was one of the things I was going to link to, and I don't think it's linked to yet. So let me go dig that back out and look at that. That had the actual parking locations mapped and a tally of parking. So I think that that's holdover language that's never gotten updated. So we'll do that. And then I think there's supposed to be a link that's going to pull up a more detailed public parking thing.
Maynard, do you know if Eva has completed the parking map that Julie keeps talking about with QR codes? Maynard, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe we have done anything further.
Okay. I was just wondering, I would be a quick resource, because there's been talk of creating one, so,
We have an
Yeah.
Economic Development Committee meeting tomorrow, and so I'll check. I'll
Okay,
check
yeah.
if there's any further work on that.
that'd be if there is, be a great thing to send along to Brandy, or if there's, especially if
Yeah.
there's already a link.
Well, I actually I just found it. So there is a
Okay.
village transportation map, which I think has not gotten, and there's also a village, there's another detailed village. So there are these two detailed village maps. I don't think any of them got in. So I need to, I think the idea was that those were going to be things that we linked to, and
Just curious, where are those from?
I made them.
Yeah, and you shared them.
So they're current is what they are. So that was my
Yeah,
question.
reasonably
You know?
so. And Rob and I conferred and looked at your prior assessment of parking and did some new counting as well. And so it lists it maps and lists the parking spaces, the public parking and other parking that's available in the village. So we do definitely need to get that in. I think that was a good memory jog there, that I need to remember to find a spot to put that in.
Yes, Brandy, you definitely shared that with us before, because I remember being pretty impressed with how comprehensive it was. It was a good map.
Yes, it's a nice map. We should use it. I'm looking at it now. It's quite lovely.
Brandy, on my copy, and it may have just been my computer, in the community survey section, the transportation pages, which is 2 pages long, was duplicated.
It's
It was on
duplicated, yes. I was moving things around, and I now have,
Okay.
yeah, I've got a little bit of cleanup to do
All right,
back
well, I'm
there.
just glad that it wasn't me.
Yeah. No, you at some point we moved the chapters around, and then I had to
Yes.
move things around,
So-
and so yes, I ended up with
Is
duplication.
Is the vision chapter going to be last? Is that what we talked about? Or is it going to be first? I think we changed it. We changed it from, because we thought land use went through everything. We made that
Right.
first.
Yeah,
So it goes
And then-
vision, land use, transportation, economic
Yeah.
development, housing, implementation, and
Yeah,
then
so-
the attachments like the survey results.
Okay,
The vision just has the that and the guiding principles, and that's the entire vision chapter. So and you want to
Yeah.
start there, because that's really sets the tone, and then we.
Also, Brandy, on page 20, I think it is, in the village planning area box,
Mm-hmm,
the second paragraph associated with B, Enfield Center,
mm-hmm.
starts off with Route 4A. And that is an almost identical paragraph to the last paragraph in that box. Route 4A is a popular
Right.
walking and biking route.
There's an almost an identical discussion as to the.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was mean. No, it is a duplication. I'm gonna reword it a little bit, but essentially the reason it's a duplication is that the Route 4A corridor continues through both of those areas, and so the recommendations from the regional corridor plan that you've got actually extend across them too. So, but I'll work on the wording.
If it could just be wordsmithed a little bit instead of
Yep.
looking like it was cut and paste on the same page, that would probably help. And also anywhere, there's several places in the document where you refer to a page number and you have an asterisk. Is that, you have
Yep.
a system for making sure you go back at some point and finding all
Yep,
those?
that's the last thing I do.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's the reason they're an asterisk, is that it makes them easy to find.
Yeah, and on page 4, there's a reference to the master plan in 1906 and a star. Do you know what that number is yet?
I have to go back through the stack of things I have. I think Rob gave me a stack of old plans, but we don't have, I think, this first one, but we think it's referenced in the second one.
And you have to find the reference. Okay.
So I have to do a little digging to see if I can find the year. But if I don't find the year, it's going to be in the 60s.
Yeah,
we know it's in the 60s, but if I can't find the year, yeah.
Yep, okay.
all right, I have one more on the housing chapter, PDF page 44. You've got probably a dozen or a dozen and a half different, developments in town. And at one point, somebody said that one of them was misidentified. And I wanted to know if you had straightened that out.
I think that those photos, there was going to be, I think I need to go out and take a photo of Prospect Pines. I think that's the one that we do not have a proper photo of. And I still don't have one. So I think I just need to go out and get a photo to put in there. I think that's the problem one.
Okay, and the other thing in the text, I believe you mentioned that there are 2 manufactured home developments. And over here, it looks like the first 3, Lakeside Co-op, Cogswell, and Bud Mill, those all look like manufactured home parks. So that would be 3 rather than 2, or one of these doesn't exist.
Where is the text again?
Oh, you would ask me that.
Inventory. Is it in the inventory? Oh, yeah, I see. It's in the inventory paragraph on page 43. So I think it's just bad writing on my part. So 2 of those parks are large and 1 is small. And so I've got 73 units located in 2. So I'll work on that.
Okay,
But yeah, it's not saying that there's only 2, but it isn't inclusive of everything.
So before we lose you, Brandy, if we want to send a copy to some folks that have volunteered to proofread this, I don't want to send them this copy because we
Nope.
now have a good handful of things. But then so what would be kind of what would you estimate would be a good time that we could send it to people for proofreading? I think we're trying to aim to have a public viewing.
unveiling.
Not the actual official hearing, but in
just a public information meeting, yeah.
Yeah, public information meeting mid-November, and we really need to nail that down before I schedule stuff away. So that's what we're gonna do after you get off the phone. So we would want our proofreaders to be able to have time to look at it,
Yep.
but obviously we want to give them a something that's closer. I mean, things like page numbers, asterisks, that kind of stuff, we'll tell them to ignore. But do you have a good thought on that? Maybe.
Yeah. I can probably plan to pick up your plan like a week from today, so the 17th.
Okay.
I think I can probably finish this out in another setting, another sitting, and get you something next week. I guess it would just be useful if you're going to keep doing things or if you have other changes. I'm sorry for the confusion around the implementation thing. To be honest, when I get an email like that and it has a Word document and then minutes, I tend not to look at the minutes in great detail unless I'm directed to go look for something in them.
Yeah, that's no worries.
You don't know how, at this point, you don't know how many groups send me their minutes just by rote, and I certainly don't read them all.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I just want to make sure that we are giving you the right amount of time, and then we are also giving our proofreaders an appropriate amount of time. So I'm just for our planning purposes.
If people have more specific things that you've seen and caught that we haven't gone over tonight, if you get those to me, I have a fairly busy meeting scheduled this week, so I know that I'm not going to pick it up until the earliest would be Friday, and more realistically, it'll probably be Monday of next week before I pick this up and do a serious period of work on it. There were a couple of mapping things that I'm still tidying up too. You guys didn't find those yet, but I know that there's still a couple of things to fix going along, and like I said, there's some more linkages. I've started with the linkages, but I have not finished those, and so that still has to be done as well.
Okay.
I just want to make sure she has these.
Well, how about if we give them to Rob? She's gotta go to a meeting.
It's about 3,
Okay, I just was gonna say, we can give them to Rob and we'll give them to Brandy, but if she's got time.
pages 10, 31, 41. Those maps. They all have to have the Potato Road extended and Goat Road dropped down to the next road and Ivy down to the next road.
That's a
all-
labeling.
Yeah, those are
thing.
some of the,
Yeah.
yes, the naming of the roads. Yes, those are some of the things I still have to catch. Some of the maps got updated and some of them
Right.
didn't yet. So those are what I'm working through.
Yep. You want one that's right?
Yeah, I know which one's right.
Okay, then you can probably do it, because I
Yeah.
gave you the pages, the ones that were wrong.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, Brandy, thank you very much for coming to our meeting and, have fun at Waitsfield or Warren.
Okay. Yes, indeed.
We'll
Okay.
see you in 2 weeks.
Yes.
That
It
will
would be
our
really
next
good if
meeting.
you're going to talk about scheduling stuff in November, to loop me into that as soon as you can. My calendar is pretty crazy.
November
So,
13th.
you're
Oh,
looking at doing it on November 13th?
Maybe November 12th and 13th or November.
That's fine. I had it
13th
on
is
the
a
12th,
Sunday.
I know,
but I'm good with the 13th. That's
I know.
better for me.
I won't be there on the 12th, so, but we want to do it
So,
before
you're thinking
November
about
15th.
a weekend time slot?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Well, that cuts down the number of other communities that you're competing with, so that's good.
yes, and we want to do it before the holidays and before November 15th. So that was our weekend that we were looking at. We haven't duked it out on which day or if it's 2 days. Why are you so throwing darts at me with your eyes?
No, I'm just nervous that
We're about there. This
I know.
We're putting the pressure on us to
and
get this done
and we did a lot tonight,
so we're
so,
asking for people to give feedback too. Again, I mean, it's like,
right,
so
it's not, doesn't have to be perfect.
It's-
yeah,
there's, so again.
We can let her go and we can
Yes.
talk
Yeah.
about that.
Okay, very good. Have a good evening.
all right.
Thanks.
Bye.
thank you.
I mean, if it doesn't happen by then, it's not gonna happen this year.
For sure, I
So
agree.
that's
Yeah, I
where
agree. No, I
it has to
agree.
happen
I
this year.
100%. I
We
agree.
can continue to go over this and over this and over this, but like.
I'm there. What are you thinking in terms of how that session would go?
I would, yeah, I don't know.
And where?
Yeah, I don't know. Community building, if we can get it, or here.
This might be too small.
Yeah, well, it would be one, I mean, I don't know if it's something that we sit down and have a group of people, or they come through and they give, like, it's open all day and come through and give comments. I mean, I don't know.
I'd be more in favor of a meeting.
Mhm.
And that way you get some dialogue going between people, rather than people just giving us one way.
I agree,
Okay.
with that. Hard to control though, right? Because it could get really out of hand really quick in terms of,
It could,
right? It's gotta be
Mm-hmm.
really tightly controlled.
I think it's worthwhile doing it.
I do too.
I mean, one of the things we can do and make, is say, we're gonna address this chapter at this time and this chapter at this time. So again, it's like,
No, you didn't, yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
that's a lot, that's 5 meetings, right?
No,
No.
all the same day. That's 5 hours. Is what I'm saying. So yes, it's a lot, but it's not 5 meetings. It would be like this, at this point in
Or you
time.
lose, yeah, see, I wouldn't do that because you'd lose someone that is gonna show up for the transportation chapter.
Mhm.
And they would have had a good comment on the vision or
But
something
if they
else.
know to come back. I mean, the thing is like, I mean, it's kind of like, so that's true. I mean, but I don't
And
know,
then,
Well, it's possible, but for those who want to stay in,
or it's a
and hear
half
it all,
hour
let's
for
stay in
each,
here
it's
it
a
all.
half hour for each thing.
there's probably not gonna be that many people that actually come, right?
I
Probably.
mean,
Don't know.
Can't guess.
I mean, some of the turnouts for some of the things that we have.
We're
what
larger
we
than we
had
thought.
Were just, phenomenal.
I really liked the La Salette building when we had the
And
presentations
I am
there.
sure they're looking for people to do stuff there. We could get in
And
touch
we've
with,
got money in the budget for it, so.
and they actually have an employee now, so.
I was gonna say, what if we do? Anyways. I kind of like your schedule piece, because I just think back to it. People can stay for the whole thing, but some people may have really strong feelings only on one, and that's really all they're interested in, and they may make an appearance for that, and they wouldn't have it all
If it was the whole thing.
if they don't know.
Right,
You
and
know, it
that,
could go
that,
both
so
ways.
there's that, and it's also like, what I don't want is someone to get up and give me notes from all through the entire thing. I don't want people to be wordsmithing. I don't want everybody's grammatical notes.
Well,
I don't want,
Yeah,
you
this is
know,
really a
like,
conversation.
this is a conversation, and I don't want all of, I mean, that, cause that's, like, we had some good focus groups conversations, and we also had a lot of people that were like, you know, just we're, which is where we have a nice little pile of people that are willing to proofread, because that's what they came with proofreading notes, or, you know,
When did we get to proofread? I
what
wasn't
if we
here.
have a comment box?
I wasn't here for that meeting when we talked about that.
Actually, I think it was the transportation meeting. We had several people that were, well, I know like Dolores had,
Oh, that's right.
had volunteered, and she's meticulous.
There's a woman to the
There was
right.
another
me.
woman, that was a school teacher. I
Yeah,
can't
and
remember.
there's somebody who's an author or an editor.
Yeah.
Who also volunteered.
So have we given them the copies to proof?
Not yet.
No, that's what I was asking from Brandy. I don't want to give them a copy yet, because we just made a bunch of changes. So that's part of this. I think what's formulated in my head is that if there are any other notes that we've noticed that we didn't give to Brandy tonight, we get them to Rob by Friday. If there's anything else that you noticed in here that you think should go to Brandy, get them to Rob by Friday. Rob compiles that into one email that goes to Brandy, because she's not gonna get to this till next week. Let's,
Yeah.
you know, and so we give her one email that has any other notes, and maybe we don't have any, maybe we gave her everything
I
tonight.
gave her everything I had.
But we'll just leave it open for that. Deadline is 10 a.m. Friday, so Rob's got time. Are you working Friday, Rob? Okay, I had time to send an email before the end of business day. Brandy will get it for next week, and then hopefully, the hard part's her turnaround, but we'll get stuff back by next meeting. I think our proofreaders will need about 2 weeks. And our next meeting is October 24th? No, yes, no, yeah, at
24th.
14 days. I'm like.
I hate to interrupt everybody, but I need to leave. So
Okay,
is there anything else you need me for?
no, just if
Other
you
than
have any,
most
if you have any notes to Rob, or things to add to get to Brandy, send them to Rob by 10 a.m.
I will. Okay.
on
Thank you
Friday.
all. All right.
Good night.
Bye.
So the 24th is Monday, same time, same bat channel, right?
Yeah, and then we will look at all this stuff again, and then we go, yes, we're ready to send it to proofreaders. That will give them at least 2 weeks to do, I mean, or I don't know,
That's doable,
Is that
that's
enough?
doable.
2 weeks should be enough, yeah.
except it all depend, no, you know why? Not,
I'm looking at the calendar.
that's gonna give them a week, because we have to get it to the public. And why I think we should, oh yeah, okay, yep, here we go. We'll give them a week. I mean, let's contact them ahead of time.
Right.
So we contact them and say, hey,
We should tell them now.
yeah,
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
available?
are you available to do this? You're gonna have a week.
It's not bad. I mean, it's 65 pages, give or take, whatever.
And,
the page-
there's a lot of photos
A
and
lot of
maps.
them are maps and
It's not,
photos.
it's,
I'm sure
well,
we should,
I
we
mean,
should just send
you
a
gotta pay
copy.
attention to the maps too, to Celia's point, right?
Because he's gonna
Right.
do it anyways.
Well, I wouldn't expect the proofreaders to know about mapping. stuff,
No, but
like-
there's typos within it. Like I saw one that has like a capital M, capital A.
So we'll
It's like
look at
little-
all of it,
okay.
I know.
Things.
So but let's
Yeah.
prime them now.
Yeah.
And make sure, they're still on board to do it, and that they have the time and capacity. Say, we're gonna have a final look through on the 24th. And if it's up to, if it's in the 90s, if it's in the 90% file, You know, so there might be,
It will be.
I know it will
Yeah.
be, I know.
It is now. It
Cause
is
any
now.
little
Right,
additions we
so
make
if
will
it's in
be
the,
easier.
you know, we'll send it to you, and then we'll give any instructions like ignore an asterisk, you know, for
Yeah,
page
yeah.
numbers, it's the very last thing. And say, we need this back, because we should put it to the public November 1st, which is a Tuesday. Put it out there, put it, make it available on the town website, put it on a listserv, have paper, like, so the public, and then our meeting is on the 13th, which is a Sunday. We just have to know what time the Patriots play and not do it, no.
That's true.
I mean, we could do it on the 12th as well. I would ask for the afternoon. I have a class that day. But I don't have to be there, but,
Well, can we do it in the morning on the
I
12th?
have a class in the
You have a
morning of
class.
12. I have a class from 11 to 1:30.
Do you think we're gonna get more people on a Saturday or a Sunday?
I think people are going
Depends
to
on the weather.
come or not come.
I think that if it's not during the game, you'll get the same number of people Saturday versus Sunday.
So what time does football start on Sunday?
Starts at 1 PM on Sundays
Yeah.
unless we're overseas.
I got the schedule right here. What's the day you're looking to?
November 13th.
November 13th. It might be there by week.
Hey, look at that.
It's not on here.
So 2 o'clock Sunday.
But that's football.
No, it's,
No,
Bye.
the Patriots at least don't have a game
They
on
were
that.
bye week,
Oh.
so they're
On that
not
week.
even playing.
we can't skip all the teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if
We'll
they're
do the
not.
dominant one
Yeah,
here.
yeah, well, the dominant one, I agree. So if they're not playing, you don't even have to worry about.
Right, so
Pick
I
the
would
time
say
you
2
want.
o'clock on Sunday, November 13th. We have to get the location, which Shaker Museum might be great. They now have they actually, again, have an employee now.
Right?
So, that's doing this. We can easily
Talk
contact.
to Elisa though and see if the community building is available.
Yeah, I think so first.
Yeah, more people know that, right?
Okay,
November 13th.
November 13th, and we say from 2 to, I mean, we'll
2 to
keep it 2 to 4-ish, 2 to 5, 2 to 4.
Cocktails welcomed. Can we add that?
2 to 4, and
BYOB.
then we'll make our schedule, and what we'll do is we just need to
Do
run a
that.
tight meeting. I'm not saying we're gonna do it one chapter at a time, so when someone stands up and says,
We should-
well, I've got this, and this, and this, like, nope,
Yeah,
we're
well,
talking
that-
about this. And then we'll just make our own meeting schedule, which I think our approach should be, we're talking about the vision chapter right now, and we don't get, we just say it's a 2-hour meeting, people can stay. They can stay for that whole thing.
Yep.
And then we just have to keep it on track. Yeah? Be less nervous? No.
He's really nervous. You nervous?
Oh, I'm not nervous, but yeah, I think we're ready.
I think we're ready.
I think we're
We're
ready.
I
just,
think you're on the right track. We need to nail this down.
we
can't-
have to, we
We
have to
can't
get this done.
encumber funds again.
Yeah, we
true.
can't
Already
encumber
encumbered
funds
once.
again.
Sure, we gotta do.
We can't encumber
Yeah,
funds
it's been going
again.
on long enough and
It's-
we got a
And
Fisher Cup big.
decisions are being made with the
Oh.
name of the master plan being used,
Yeah.
or they're trying to make decisions using the master plan that hasn't been passed.
Yes.
Well,
Or decisions are being made in lieu of
yeah,
the master plan
Ed
and
was
not
all-
doing the stuff that we want them to do.
Ed was all over it, like Jack for me, but Ed was all over it. And I think he's really gonna use it and he's gonna,
Yep,
really sounded good, what I heard.
right. So there's that, like, that it's being used, but it's also not being used at the same time. So
Because it doesn't technically exist.
And just as an
because it
FYI,
doesn't exist. So, yeah.
according to Jim, who was here through a lot of the last 25 years of he's been here, we came this close twice to
Right.
new master plans. And it was literally during this phase that we're in now.
It
'cause we
wasn't
could
perfect.
show you the work that was done
Right,
And
right.
what happened?
and it wasn't implemented. That was what, that
Because
was,
it
that
wasn't
was where it-
perfect, or it
Right.
just.
it died on the vine.
And
Yep.
honestly, if we just asked for all that money and we spent it and then we don't deliver,
Well,
then I don't even.
We were waiting
That-
for it.
that
And
was
we
the
will
money.
No, we will
I'll
deliver
slit
it.
my
It's not
wrist.
about that. It's just a matter of like, are we gonna deliver it and be done this year? I mean, it'll still be early next year when it gets passed for the planning board. Cause we already,
But
right?
if our work's done in December.
Well, I would
But
do
our-
it sooner
Yeah,
if you could.
Rob, we've got to work on, we're only having one meeting a month in November and December.
I think that's the reason. It's, we just can't get on
So,
there.
yeah, it's gonna be January before planning board gets this.
But there won't, but the reason is.
Although
because-
there's not a lot on the schedule. Oh, that's the.
So that's,
Never
but
mind.
November, if we have any changes, we're gonna have to come back together or have some sort of gathering one more time, I think, for us. Unfortunately, like that second Monday in the fourth Monday in November.
I think, David, we have to schedule a public hearing for the planning board.
Right, you have to schedule, so,
Yeah, but that'll be January.
okay,
Okay.
the 13th would be our meeting, the 14th is the first, no, it's the
Yes.
second Monday.
Yep.
In November, we meet to.
Yep.
To
Finalize.
debrief and digest what
Mhm.
happened the day before.
Yeah.
And then hopefully all of any information goes to
Cocktails
Brandy
encouraged.
and it's done.
Yep.
Then it's done, and then we schedule the, or no, I mean, if we can schedule that now for whenever, I don't know what you have to do to just schedule a public hearing with the
We
planning
have to,
board.
we have
but-
to post it, yeah.
And I
And
think
you
that
guys
won't,
meet this
that
month?
actually can't happen till January, probably, because you've got one meeting in
Right,
December.
because, I mean, we've got to have a public hearing on zoning ordinance updates.
Yep.
And that'll be in December sometime.
But our part will be done.
Rob, what do you
No.
think about combining the two public hearings?
I don't see why you couldn't do that.
And just get it all done.
Do you think in terms of audience participation, that would be too much?
Don't.
Why don't we talk about that on Wednesday with the
Wednesday.
planning board?
I mean, if we've done our work as well as we've done it, and I think we've done it, and we do the soft public here, like, hopefully there shouldn't be much.
I mean, if we can nail this thing in early January with the planning board, that would be fantastic.
Right.
And I don't know, there's a time thing. There's a certain date by which we have to have that zoning ordinance update hearing.
Right.
And I don't know what that is off the top of my
Last year it
head.
was a December, so it's like mid-December is when we have it.
Wow, if we could nail it this year in 2022, that would be fantastic.
So for the public session, we're sure on the 13th, we're gonna go 2 to 4. We just have to finalize a where,
Yeah,
like, can we do that in the
Talk to
next?
Lisa.
okay, so we can get that information really fast, so we can make the postcards.
I would say, because we gotta push it, which
Um,
brings me to the next. For those who have signs, should we put out some master planning signs again in this gap before
Once
that?
we get the date and once we get the mailing, I'd like the signs and the mailing to kind of coincide.
Yep. Okay.
And something on the website. So Rob, can you talk to Elisa tomorrow
Absolutely.
and see
Very
if we
nice.
can get that community building?
And
Yeah.
if not, we will go Plan B is the Shaker.
The Shaker Museum. I mean, I think there's not that much. It's, Brandy's efficient, you know, there's some little things here and
Yeah,
getting the, and that kind of stuff, but I think like overall, like we're gonna be ready.
we're there, we're
We're there.
solid.
Who is reaching out to the proofreaders?
Me, that's.
Do you wanna,
I see some eyeballs in my direction.
do you wanna come in here and we could have a little session, here where we take the calls and reach out?
I mean, there's only three of them,
Dolores,
I'll say, yeah, we have an
Dolores,
exact
and
list.
I can't remember the
I
other.
know, I have
ones.
to remember.
Is she okay? How's her health?
Susan Brown, one of them.
I don't think
Madeline.
Susan was.
Ma-
there.
yeah,
Madeline.
Madeline's the one that's-
Was it
John,
that? Was
John,
it
is
that?
it Johnson?
Yes, she's on our zoning board.
All right, so Madeline, yeah, it wasn't
She's
Susan
an
Brown.
editor, she's a book editor.
It's a,
Yeah,
it's a teacher, it's a teacher. So Madeline Johnson.
Oh,
and
is
then-
it Amy Stewart?
Amy Stewart, the kindergarten.
My
There we
teacher.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do we need, so how, just gonna ask this, do we need to send it to Kurt or Tim Jennings? Cause
No,
we're gonna come with our own research
I think if we have three people
and his
look at
own
it,
color key.
Yeah, but I think that they can come to the public session,
Okay.
because it sounds like what they're gonna go at would be content, where these people are just doing the,
Well, Kurt
right?
comes with his has to approve the maps. He'll come with color, like he'll come with editing stuff, which is why it's like, do we just
Do
do
we just send
that?
it to him anyway? Yeah. He could be a fourth.
It's not
I wouldn't go
necessarily
crazy,
to
but-
me, content.
Well, not, yeah, I was just
It's
thinking,
aesthetic.
like, if we're doing content, yeah, maybe he could do that too.
Either way, I mean, it doesn't matter. I just,
We're
like, that
minimizing
to me
the-
was the bulk of his like,
Yeah.
what he was saying was
Yeah.
like, was mapping,
Maps.
was mapping, preferences.
So we might as well just do it then so that we have time, we can give Brandy any time she needs to make any
Have him look at the maps.
adjustments.
Reluctantly,
He's
yes.
going to do
I'm-
it.
Well, but I think when you ask them, it goes into very clear, this is what we need you to review. This is what we need you to review.
May-
We're not discussing content, right now, we're not like,
Yeah.
you know,
But mapping
directive.
does involve content, and because.
well, right, for him, yes.
For, yeah.
For the rest of them, no.
For the rest of them, it's just
Right.
grammatical.
That's what I mean,
stuff.
like your assigning tasks, like Kurt.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think of the maps.
Kurt, look at the maps, don't read
Map.
anything else.
That's what I'm saying, like, if the directive goes out.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Yeah, I just,
the request. I'll
I
say.
mean, that's like, I want to honor that fact that's what he, that was the bulk of his comments, and they were good. Some of them I think were personal style, some of them are,
Right.
you know, and I
Yeah.
I don't want to waste time in a meeting about content, looking at color codes of the key,
Mhm.
of the map key, you know, like,
Yeah.
so. Since I know that's passion there, so let's just do that.
Okay,
One other thing. Maybe you can give some insight on this,
Yes,
from the select board meeting,
yes.
that there's a committee that might need a master plan task force. Do you know how that person is being selected? Can we,
A committee on the select board.
no, there's a committee being formed for the Johnson
Johnson Beach.
And Eric is, rightfully, I think, asked to have a master plan task force member,
Yes,
and
that's right. I
I
was here
think
for
that
that.
we should nominate versus, or,
Yes. You should
Like that.
agree
And,
to somebody as
and
a
they also
representative
want
ex
a planning
officio.
board person.
right,
Well, okay, I got two questions
Mhm.
on that one.
yeah, I didn't know how the committee was being formed. If
Yeah.
It's gonna get picked by,
Select board.
like, are they gonna reach out to individuals if they want, or can we nominate our person?
I think
And
the committees can definitely nominate their people.
when is it happening? When are they putting it together?
I
Like
thought it was
by X
happening,
time.
it didn't get that.
It was to be started on January 1
Oh, okay,
with report, within 6 months, I think, so it's.
I guess
And the only
maybe the
reason I-
question is, anybody interested?
Well, the reason I ask is if we were going to do a refresh of this task force in the new year. Anyways, that would be new people, and if one
Yeah,
of the
but I
first
think
chapters
that
is
this-
recreation, that
Right,
falls-
but also this is
Good point.
recreation, but it's also land use, and it also is, and it
It's all
should just, they have a short time period. I believe,
Right.
I thought they wanted to just like take a month, and so it should be someone who's been doing that. I wanna see if anyone here is interested. And make sure that at least we honor that, and I know now Ashley and Phil and Maynard are not here, so maybe we table this conversation, because I also don't know how the process is gonna happen in that, so. How about we just leave it right now, like they were looking for a master plan task force person, I know they're looking for a planning board person too. I don't think that there was a thought of doubling that, so I think but maybe that also is two birds with one stone, I don't know. If anyone's interested in that.
And we
Just thought I'd bring it up.
So let's
It would be,
let's
that would be a
think about
short
it.
term, that would be a
Let's
very
think
short
about
term.
it, and we can, hopefully by the next meeting, the select board will have decided how they're
What
gonna
their
choose.
process
Yeah.
is, okay.
Anything else?
Just the minutes.
Does everybody need a copy of the,
These are the September 26th minutes.
September
well,
12th.
12 here. You guys already approved the 26th, I think.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the
We
12th.
did.
Line 111.
Need a copy of the, well, anybody?
I do.
Mr. Saxon said that, that raised another issue that brought DUP. I'm not sure what it should be brought up, remove, lose the T, I guess.
Yeah.
You find that, Whitney?
Yeah, I'm opening. It was line 111.
Yeah. Halfway through the sentence. And then a line 112, community member comments happened. It's just a little awkward there. We need to fix that somehow.
I'm sorry, what was it, line?
Line 112, the next sentence.
Oh, okay.
Community member comments happened. So it's just missing a word there or something. I'm not even sure what you meant to say.
Maybe just and community member comments after it took place.
Good place, maybe.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready. Yeah, 126, line 126. Halfway through the sentence, the word assigning should be aligning. And that's all I had.
Line 133. I did not say that the discussion was getting into weeds, although it was.
Weeds, maybe?
Weeds.
That happens so often that I'm just typing fast enough that like a real word is in there. Obviously, I'm not gonna reread the whole thing. I feel like that happens a lot.
I think that's the only thing. If we were circling back to the matrix, then maybe we will next time. I don't know. We briefly touched on, and Brandy asked about the symbols in there,
Oh, I liked them.
and I don't think we ever like really.
Oh, I love them. I was like, did she make them?
I know,
Did
because we
they
talked
work?
about symbols in our last meeting when we were talking about how to design this whole
Mhm.
matrix, so. Maybe visualizing and seeing it. I don't know if people have different opinions or. I think as long as there is a key, I think it's helpful. It's less words, which is kind of nice.
Mhm.
Not something that's gonna be kind
And
of
it
pretty.
ties back to the front. She said she put key in.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dave brought that up too. So I think, I think she just did it because it's like, I'm not gonna do all the work until you guys.
Oh,
decide
yeah,
you
I
like
just
it.
didn't know if we really gave her, like, I felt like we kind of,
I thought we did, like saying
I
put
think
key
we
in.
did.
okay.
I really liked them. I thought that gave a nice little visual.
They don't all have it, so I assume she'll go back once we say do
Right.
it and do it.
Can we stick to the minutes?
Mhm.
Because we need to
Probably
approve.
not, no. I'll make a motion that we approve with Brad's edits. And then,
How about my
with edits.
How about my edits?
David's, I'll say, with edits, take out names.
Yeah.
Wait, David's got edits. Oh, wait,
No,
oh,
again,
oh,
mine.
okay. Anybody
Weeds.
else have edits?
We,
All right.
all right, all in favor
Ready to
of
be
accepting
motion.
the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, okay, yeah, we got enough to do.
We're running on.
One final thing that has kind of crossed my mind. We've got, I think, 90% on the plan itself. We had originally talked about a shorter executive summary. Is that something that we wanna tax Brandy with, or form a subcommittee? How do we wanna handle it? Anybody have any ideas?
A summary are what we've got.
Yeah, in other words, we've got 63, give or take, pages.
Right.
And I don't think the majority of people in town are gonna wanna read through 63 or 65 or 68 pages. So we had talked about a short executive summary, which just kind of hits the highlights.
I think
And-
Randy could do that.
What about the highlights being the vision chapter and the matrix, which is the recommendations out of each chapter? To me, that highlights it, and if you want the details, then go read the chapter it came from.
That kind of says it, doesn't it?
I mean, it kind of is, right? The vision is the overall, like, kind of the bigger picture, and then here are the recommendations that got pulled out. She'll have a table of contents if people are curious where those came from or how we came to that, they'll go look at the chapter.
And the vision is pretty short.
The vision,
I'm just talking about-
those other statements, I mean, yeah, like, I know I don't have the bandwidth to.
That is, I was like, the work's already done, so what if we take a piece that's already done and put it in the
Like,
thing?
yeah, I think
Yeah,
that those,
that works.
the capstone, whatever chapters are pull those out for a summary. like this
Yeah.
kind of thing, yeah.
The short version.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 8:04, give or take. We shouldn't be here. It's only 3:03. So does somebody wanna,
I make a motion.
thank you,
Second.
Brad, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned.
Oh, did we skip public comments? Kate, did you have any public comments before we adjourn?
Stay here.
Great. All right, thanks, we've adjourned.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.